Hey, Skills Champions. It's Rachel Unruh at National Skills Coalition here with my colleague Katie Spiker to give you the latest on what's happening here in Washington. Obviously, it's been a really big week, and the big news is around Builds Back Better. So folks know from previous updates that we have had a bipartisan hard infrastructure bill for a while now. But progressive Democrats have been pretty consistent that that bill was not going to move forward until there was a human infrastructure bill to go with it. That human infrastructure bill, known as Builds Back Better, includes the president's American Jobs Plan and America's Family Plan proposals from those that he originally put out earlier this year. So the big news, of course, is that we got a framework this week for Builds Back Better. National Skills Coalition put out a blog about the sort of broad strokes of the strategies and entities that are likely to be supported within that framework. But today, Katie has seen more detail and is going to share with us some of that detail in terms of larger funding buckets within it for workforce education and training. But before she does that, I just want to reiterate what we've been saying at National Skills Coalition since this came out yesterday, what you saw in our blog post, which is that this really does represent a historic investment in workforce education and training. And while it's not everything that we know is needed for an inclusive economic recovery, it is an important first step, and there's a lot to build on in here. So Katie, with that, tell us a little bit about more detail about the funding resources in this framework for workforce education and training.
Absolutely. So there were two things that were released yesterday. So the first was this White House framework that gave the broad strokes about what we can expect in the Build Back Better Act and the close to final agreement that's being reached among Democrats on the Hill and with the White House. And there they described the fact that Build Back Better Act would include investments in industry and sector partnerships, would include up to 50% increase to the amount of workforce development funding over the next 5 years, that there would be a focus on racial equity and apprenticeships and helping workers access good jobs in industries that are hiring. Also yesterday, the House Rules Committee released most of the text of what will eventually be Build Back Better Act. Democrats are still agreeing to a few big provisions and haven't finalized all the language. The language also will change just a little bit because it has to go over to the Senate and go through some of their process requirements. But we did see this language out of the House that gave us more detail about the agreement that's been reached by Democrats around workforce and other issues. So there were a few big buckets that we saw for workforce. So the first is that over the next 5 years, so able to be expended until September 30th of 2026, there's an increase in supplemental funding for dislocated workers, adult workers, and youth under WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So there's $2 billion for dislocated workers, an extra $1 billion for adult, and $1.5 billion for youth programs. There's also a $5 billion bucket of money for industry and sector partnerships to support both the creation of those partnerships and the provision of those partnerships, providing sector-based training opportunities to workers. There's also a large chunk of money that would go $2 billion to reauthorize the Healthcare Professional Opportunity Grants, or HPOG. And then there's $4.3 billion for the Department of Labor to expand what the Build Back Better Act calls their Climate Core program. So that would largely be focused on jobs that are creating and addressing climate change. And the Department of Labor section of that funding is focused on investments in youth build, in Job Corps, in expanding pre-apprenticeships and links between pre-apprenticeships and registered apprenticeship programs. There's also $700 million available through 2027 for adult education programs. There's $600 million for current technical education programs. There's $100 million for data and labor market information at states. And then there's also supplemental investments in national programs for WIOA as well.
Great. So that's a lot, obviously. And, you know, as you said, there's still some things that have to happen procedurally. What are those things? What are the next steps here? And are there any things that fell out of Build Back Better that we could see falling back in during that process?
Yeah, I think so. As you mentioned, this is a historic investment. Across the programs that I just mentioned, and then a few others within DOL and education jurisdiction, there's almost $30 billion of funding there for workforce programs. But what folks didn't hear me mention that was a big priority and that was really close to being included was something that would provide community and technical colleges with capacity to address to create programs, to work with industry. There's still discussion about that and a couple other things being added back into the bill as part of a manager's amendment. And that's something that could happen when the House takes the bill up for a vote. If there's agreement among members that there were a few provisions, probably not huge provisions with really large price tags, but if there were a few things that members can agree on, but that were left out of this text, there's still an opportunity to advocate for some of those to be included at that stage. Once another procedural step that has to happen is this is language that was put together in some of these instances through both the Senate staff working with House committee staff and House staff. But the Senate has a higher procedural burden for the reconciliation process, and that's really where all the procedural steps sit. And so they have to take this language and make sure that it adheres to what's called the Byrd Rule, which is the restriction that essentially these programs, we're not creating new programs here, but that they really have simply a monetary impact and a budget impact on how bills are being spent. I heard someone yesterday reference it as it's time for the bird bath. So that has to happen over in the Senate. The other piece that you mentioned in your introduction is that the timing for this bill is being linked to the timing of the passage for the hard infrastructure bill. So there was a lot of reporting happening this week and really rapid shifts where Congress reached an agreement on Build Back Better Act. And one of the reasons that they did so rapidly was because there was both a kind of fabricated timeline and deadline that they were working with, and then a very real legislative deadline that they were working with. So the first is they wanted to be able to show, Dems wanted to be able to show progress on this bill in one step because the president was going overseas and he wanted to be able to champion what's happening. There's also things like the upcoming governor's race in Virginia next week that they wanted to be able to point voters to the ability of Democrats to reach a good outcome on these economic issues. And then the real legislative deadline was that the highway surface bill was expiring on October 31st. So instead of being able to pass the hard infrastructure bill that would have addressed that deadline, Congress kicked a continuing resolution and extended that bill through December 3rd, which is the same day that the current deadline exists right now for passing the annual funding or annual appropriations bill. So that means that we're looking at both procedural steps for Build Back Better to be able to get through this Byrd process and be able to pass through a reconciliation process. And there isn't a hard deadline for that happening, but members want that to happen obviously as soon as possible. The infrastructure bill needs to pass by December 3rd, and the annual appropriations bill needs to pass by December 3rd, or there needs to be another continuing stopgap resolution that would extend those deadlines.
Got it. So a lot still has to happen. And I would just again point folks to the blog that Katie put out earlier this week, because not only are there opportunities potentially to pull stuff back in during the negotiations around Build Back Better, but there are also other vehicles where there's opportunities to advocate for some of the key priorities that National Skills Coalition has been pushing for a while, things like Pell Grants for short-term training and other priorities. So Katie, obviously this is a big, huge win for all the folks in our coalition who have been advocating for these changes, the members of our industry recovery panels, our Business Leaders United network, folks who are part of all of our state skills span coalitions. They've really been putting a lot of time and energy behind getting these things to happen. So what's your message to our coalition about what they can do now?
I think your point is exactly right. We got to $30 billion where Congress recognized the importance of skills because of the advocacy that everyone has done over the past almost 2 years. And right now the package isn't finalized. So we can't assume that just because these are the numbers that we see out today, that that's where things will be in a final agreement. And so it is still useful to be reaching out to your members of Congress, in particular right now, thanking those that were champions for it. If folks have been involved in Hill meetings or have reached out to your members to express the need for these investments, now's the perfect time to follow back up with staff and say thank you for championing these investments at a time in which significant parts of the president's agenda have fallen out of and been negotiated away. There was a protection of these provisions that are going to help workers access skills and businesses find workers.
That's great. Well, Katie, thanks so much for the update. And of course, we're going to be back here again as soon as there's more to share. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Rachel.